Hana walked through the metal corridors of Nexus Prime with her hands clasped behind her back. The station was massive, bigger than any city on Earth. Thousands of aliens from hundreds of different worlds lived and worked here. The walls glowed with soft blue light, and the air smelled strange, a mix of different atmospheres that the station balanced for all the species inside. She passed a group of Rexian guards near the security checkpoint. They were tall creatures nearly 8 feet high with 4 arms and skin like gray stone. One of them laughed when he saw her. "Look, the human is on patrol again," he said to his friends. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "Why do they even let her carry a weapon?" another Vrexian asked. "Humans are too slow. By the time she pulls her gun, any real threat would already be gone." Hana kept walking. She had heard it all before. Every day someone made a comment about humans. Too slow, too weak, too soft. She touched the pistol on her hip and said nothing. The truth was simple. Humans had only joined the Interstellar Coalition 3 years ago. They were the newest members, and everyone else had been here for centuries or longer. The other species looked at humans and saw nothing special. No armored skin like the Vrexians, no lightning-fast reflexes like the Thros, no compound eyes like the Clith that could see in 17 different spectrums. Humans were just average. And in a galaxy full of incredible abilities, average meant worthless. Hana reached her office and sat down at her desk. The room was small, barely big enough for a chair and a computer terminal. She pulled up the daily security reports and started reading. Most of it was boring. Supply shipments, maintenance schedules, visitor logs. Nothing dangerous ever happened on Nexus Prime. It was the diplomatic heart of the Coalition, protected by thousands of guards and the most advanced security systems in known space. Her computer chimed. "A message from Doyen. Need to talk. Come to my office." "It's important," Hana frowned. Doyen was another human, one of only 5 serving on the entire station. He worked in intelligence, analyzing data and looking for threats. He was serious and careful, not the type to call someone without a good reason. She left her office and made her way through the station. More aliens stared at her as she passed. A Clith officer clicked his mandibles in what might have been laughter. 2 Thros soldiers whispered to each other and pointed at her small size. She was 5'6", which was tall for a human woman, but tiny compared to most Coalition species. Doyen's office was in the intelligence section, 3 levels down. When Hana arrived, she found him staring at his computer screen with worried eyes. His desk was covered in paper printouts, which was unusual. Most people in the Coalition used only digital files. "What's wrong?" Hana asked, closing the door behind her. Doyen looked up. His face was tight with stress. "I found something in the cargo logs. Something bad." He turned his screen so she could see. It showed a list of shipments that had arrived at the station over the past week. Most of it looked normal, but Doyen had highlighted several entries in red. "These shipments," he said, pointing at the screen, "they're listed as maintenance equipment. But look at the weight and dimensions. They don't match." Hana leaned closer. "What do you think they really are?" "Weapons. Maybe explosives." I ran the numbers 3 times. "These containers are too heavy to be what they claim to be." "Did you report it?" Doyen's expression turned bitter. "I told my supervisor. Commander Thex, he's Vrexian. You know what he said? He said I was being paranoid. He said humans see threats everywhere because we evolved on a dangerous world." He laughed at me, Hana. He actually laughed. Hana felt anger rise in her chest, but she pushed it down. Getting angry wouldn't help. "Show me everything." For the next hour, Doyen walked her through his findings. The suspicious shipments had all been delivered to the maintenance sector. They had been signed for by workers who didn't exist in the station database. The containers had been moved to storage areas that were rarely checked. Someone was smuggling something onto Nexus Prime, and they were being very careful about it. "There's more," Doyen said quietly. "The big summit starts tomorrow. 20 species sending their leaders here for peace talks. Earth's representative is coming too. If someone wanted to attack the Coalition, this would be the perfect time." Hana stared at the data on the screen. Her mind was racing. "We need to investigate this ourselves. Commander Thex told me to drop it. If I keep pushing, he'll write me up for insubordination. Then we don't tell him. We look into it on our own." Doyen hesitated. "If we're wrong, we could lose our positions. They'll say we were causing trouble, making humans look paranoid and unstable. And if we're right and we do nothing?" Hana asked. What happens then? They both knew the answer. If there was an attack during the summit, people would die, hundreds, maybe thousands. And if Earth's representative was killed, humanity might be expelled from the coalition. Or worse. Okay, Doyen said.
What do we do?
Hana pulled up the station map on her handheld device. These containers were moved to Storage Bay 7. That's in the old section of the station near the exterior hull. Not many people go there. I'll go check it out tonight after my shift. I'll keep monitoring communications, Doyen said. If there's a terrorist cell here, they'll have to talk to each other somehow. Maybe I can find a pattern. Hana stood up. Be careful. If you're right about this, then whoever smuggled those weapons in has help from someone inside station security. They got past all the scanners somehow. You be careful too, Doyen said. You'll be alone out there. Hana touched her pistol again. I'm always alone. That night after her official shift ended, Hana changed out of her uniform and into plain gray coveralls that made her look like a maintenance worker. She clipped her pistol inside her jacket where it wouldn't be visible and headed toward the old section of the station. The corridors here were darker and quieter. The walls showed their age, with patches of discolored metal and outdated lighting panels. Few people had reason to come here. It was mostly storage and old equipment that hadn't been used in years. Storage Bay 7 was at the end of a long hallway. Hana approached slowly, listening for any sound. The door was sealed but not locked. She pressed the control panel and it slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the bay was full of containers and equipment. Hana pulled out a small flashlight and started searching. Most of the boxes were labeled clearly: spare parts, replacement panels, cleaning supplies. But in the back corner, she found what Doyen had described: 5 large containers with maintenance labels that didn't match their size and weight. She tried to open one. It was locked with a security seal she didn't recognize, not coalition standard. She took pictures with her handheld device, making sure to capture every angle. Then she heard voices in the hallway outside. Hana switched off her flashlight and moved behind a stack of containers. The door opened and 3 figures entered. They weren't human. 2 were Krell, a species known for being tough and aggressive, with scaled skin and sharp teeth. The third was something she didn't recognize. Tall and thin with too many joints in its arms. They spoke in coalition standard, the common language everyone used. We move everything tomorrow morning, one of the Krell said. His voice was rough and deep. Before the summit starts. Once we're in position, there's no stopping it. What about security? The thin alien asked. Security is a joke here. They think nothing can touch them. By the time they realize what's happening, it will be over. The Krell laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. Hana stayed perfectly still, barely breathing. Her hand rested on her pistol, but she didn't draw it. 3 against 1, and she didn't know how many more might be nearby. She needed to get this information to someone who would listen. The aliens checked the containers quickly and then left. Hana waited in the darkness for 5 full minutes before moving. Her heart was pounding, but her hands were steady. She had been right. Doyen had been right. There was going to be an attack during the summit, and no one in authority believed them. Hana left the storage bay and made her way back through the quiet corridors. She had less than 12 hours to stop whatever was coming. 12 hours to prove that humans weren't too slow, too weak, or too paranoid. 12 hours to save the summit and everyone at it. She touched her pistol one more time and started walking faster. The hunt had begun. Hana reached Doyen's apartment at midnight. She knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more, their signal. The door opened immediately. Doyen looked tired and worried, his hair messy like he had been running his hands through it. I found them, Hana said, stepping inside. You were right. There are weapons in Storage Bay 7, and I heard 3 of them talking. They're planning something for tomorrow morning before the summit starts. Doyen closed the door and locked it. I tried calling Commander Thex again. He told me if I contacted him one more time about this, he would have me removed from the station. He thinks I'm crazy. Show him the pictures I took, Hana said, pulling out her handheld device. He won't look at them. I'm serious, Hana. He thinks humans are paranoid because Earth was a dangerous place. He said we see threats that aren't there. Hana sat down heavily on Doyen's couch. So what do? We can't just let this happen. I've been thinking about that, Doyen said. He pulled up a map on his wall screen. It showed the entire station, with the summit hall marked in bright red. The summit starts at 1000 hours tomorrow. All the delegates will gather in the main hall. That's where the attack will happen, it has to be. How many delegates are coming? 20 species, plus their guards and advisors. Maybe 300 people total in that hall. Hana studied the map. The summit hall was in the center of the station, surrounded by multiple layers of security. If they attack during the summit, they'll have to get weapons past all those checkpoints. How? That's what I can't figure out, Doyen said. Unless... He zoomed in on the map showing the areas around the summit hall. Look, there are maintenance corridors that run above and below the hall. Old access tunnels from when the station was first built. They're not used anymore, but they're still there. Hana stood up and moved closer to the screen. If they can get into those tunnels with weapons, they could fire down into the summit hall. The floor and ceiling are reinforced, but the walls have observation windows. Transparent aluminum, strong but not bulletproof against military-grade weapons. We need to check those tunnels, Hana said. When? The summit starts in 10 hours. We're both supposed to be on duty. If we're not at our posts, someone will notice. Hana thought for a moment. I'm assigned to patrol the outer sections tomorrow morning. The maintenance corridors are technically part of my patrol route. I can check them without anyone asking questions. What if you find them? What if they're already in position? Then I stop them. Doyen looked at her like she had lost her mind. Hana, you're talking about going against trained terrorists by yourself. These aren't station drunks or petty thieves. These are people who smuggled weapons onto the most secure station in the coalition. You have a better idea? Doyen opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't have a better idea. They both knew it. At least take extra ammunition, he finally said, and stay in contact with me. I'll monitor your position from here. If something goes wrong, I'll think of something. Hana managed a small smile. Thanks. She left his apartment an hour later with 3 extra magazines for her pistol and a small earpiece that would let her talk to Doyen privately. She went back to her own quarters and tried to sleep, but her mind wouldn't stop working. Tomorrow she would either stop a terrorist attack or die trying. Either way, people would finally stop saying humans were too slow. Morning came too quickly. Hana put on her uniform and checked her weapon 3 times. 15 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber, 3 extra magazines in her pockets, a small knife in her boot. It wasn't much, but it was all she had. She reported for duty at 0600 hours. Her supervisor, a bored-looking Clith named Rax, barely looked at her when she signed in. Outer patrols today, he said, clicking his mandibles. Sections 12 through 18. Check the maintenance corridors and mark any problems in the log. Yes, sir, Hana said. She left the security office and headed toward the outer sections. The station was quiet this early in the morning. Most of the delegates wouldn't arrive for another 3 hours. Hana touched her earpiece. Doyen, can you hear me? His voice came back immediately. I hear you. I'm tracking your position. You're heading towards Section 14. That's where the maintenance corridor connects to the summit hall, right? Yes, be careful. Hana reached the entrance to the maintenance corridor 15 minutes later. The door was old and rusted at the edges, but when she tried the control panel, it opened smoothly. Someone had been here recently. The door should have been stiff from years of not being used. She drew her pistol and stepped inside. The corridor was dark and narrow, with pipes running along the walls and ceiling. Her footsteps echoed on the metal floor. She moved slowly, checking every corner, every shadow. The air smelled stale and old. After 50 feet, the corridor opened into a wider space. Hana stopped and listened. She could hear voices ahead, speaking quietly. She moved closer, staying against the wall. Then she saw them. 7 aliens were gathered in a section of the corridor that overlooked the summit hall below. They had set up equipment, weapons, communication gear, and what looked like explosives. Hana recognized the species. 3 Krell with their thick scales and sharp teeth, 2 Thros with long, thin bodies and 4 arms each, 1 creature that looked like a walking insect, all black and shiny, and 1 that she had never seen before, something with too many eyes and skin that seemed to shift colors. They were setting up a plasma cannon that could punch through the observation window and kill everyone in the summit hall below. The leader was one of the Krell, bigger than the others, with scars across his face and arms. He was giving orders in a quiet, controlled voice. Vex, the timer is set, one of the Thros said. 20 minutes after the summit starts, this whole section will explode. Even if someone stops the cannon, the explosives will finish the job. So the leader was named Vex. Hana memorized his face. Good, Vex said. Once the delegates are dead, we blame the humans. We left enough evidence. By tomorrow, Earth will be expelled from the coalition and our employers will be very happy. Hana's blood went cold. This wasn't just about killing delegates. This was about destroying humanity's place in the galaxy. She pulled back slowly, her mind racing. 7 terrorists. One of her. She couldn't fight them all at once. But she couldn't let them do this. She touched her earpiece. "Doyen," she whispered. "I found them. 7 terrorists in Maintenance Corridor 14B. They have a plasma cannon and explosives. They're planning to attack the summit and frame humanity for it." "I'm calling station security right now," Doyen said urgently. "No, don't." "What? Why not?" "Because they might have someone inside security. How else did they get weapons past all the scanners? If you call security, they might warn the terrorists. Or worse, security might not believe you and we'll lose our only chance to stop this. Then what do we do?" Hana looked back at the 7 terrorists. They were confident and relaxed, completely sure that no one knew they were here. They thought they were safe. They were wrong. "I'm going to stop them," Hana said quietly. "That's suicide," Doyen said. "You can't. I don't have a choice." "The summit starts in 90 minutes. If I don't stop them now, hundreds of people will die and humanity will be blamed. I need you to do something for me." "What?" "If I die, you need to get this information to someone who will listen. Find someone, anyone, who will investigate. Promise me." There was a long pause. Then Doyen said, "I promise. But Hana, please don't die." "I'll do my best," she said. She turned off her earpiece and checked her pistol one more time. 15 rounds plus 3 magazines. 60 rounds total. 7 targets the terrorists had split up. 2 were working on the plasma cannon. 2 were setting up the explosives. 1 was watching the corridor they had come from. A lookout. The other 2, including Vex, were checking equipment and going over their plan. Hana thought about Earth. About the training she had received from human instructors who taught her that speed wasn't just about moving fast. It was about thinking fast. About being in the right place at the right time. About making every shot count. The aliens in the coalition thought humans were slow because their nerves didn't conduct signals as quickly. They thought humans were weak because their muscles weren't as dense. They didn't understand that humans had survived and reached the stars not by being the fastest or the strongest, but by being smart and adaptable. They were about to learn. Hana looked up and saw a maintenance shaft in the ceiling, about 30 feet ahead. It would put her above the lookout. She could drop down on him from behind. If she was quiet enough, the others wouldn't hear until it was too late. She started moving, slow and silent, like a shadow in the dark corridor. Her heart was beating fast, but her hands were steady. She reached the maintenance shaft and climbed up into the darkness. Below her, the terrorists continued their work, completely unaware that death was coming for them from above. Hana thought about all the times aliens had called humans slow, all the times they had laughed and said humans couldn't fight, all the times they had dismissed humanity as weak and worthless. They were about to find out how wrong they were. She positioned herself directly above the lookout and prepared to drop. Hana hung in the darkness of the maintenance shaft, looking down at the Krell lookout below. He was big, maybe 7 feet tall, with thick gray scales covering his body like armor. His neck was protected by overlapping plates that would stop most blades. But Hana had learned anatomy for dozens of species during her training. Every creature had weak points. For Krell, it was the gap where the skull met the spine, just behind the jaw. She pulled her knife from her boot and held it in her left hand. Her right hand gripped the edge of the shaft opening. She took one slow breath, then dropped. The Krell had good reflexes. In the half-second of her fall, he started to turn, sensing something wrong. But he was looking for threats in front of him, not above. Hana landed on his shoulders, her knees hitting his upper back. Her left hand drove the knife into the weak point with all her strength. The blade went through scales, through muscle, through the gap between vertebrae. The Krell tried to scream but only made a wet choking sound. His hands came up to grab her, but his body wasn't taking orders anymore. Hana rode him down as he collapsed, pulling the knife free. The whole thing took 3 seconds. The body hit the floor with a heavy thud. Hana froze, listening. The corridor was still noisy with the sound of equipment being set up and the terrorists talking. No one had heard. She dragged the body into a dark corner and took the Krell's position, standing in the shadows where the lookout had been. 6 left. 70 minutes until the summit started. She looked at the terrorists. 2 Thros were working together on the plasma cannon. their forearms moving quickly as they connected power cells and calibrated the targeting system. They were 30 feet away, focused completely on their work. Hana moved closer, staying low and using the equipment as cover. The corridor had stacks of old machinery and supply crates. She moved from shadow to shadow, her footsteps silent on the metal floor. She reached a position 15 feet behind the two Thros. They still hadn't noticed anything wrong. Hana raised her pistol, aiming at the back of the first one's head. At this range, she couldn't miss. The pistol made a sharp crack when she fired. The first Thros dropped. The second one started to turn, his forearms reaching for his weapon. Hana fired again, center mass. The Thros stumbled backward. She fired a third time. He fell, 2 shots to make sure. Hana had 13 rounds left in her magazine. The plasma cannon toppled over with a loud crash as the dead Thros fell against it. The sound echoed through the corridor like thunder. What was that? Someone shouted. Hana was already moving. She knew what would happen next. The terrorists would go on alert. They would check on their lookout and their weapons team. When they found the bodies, they would either try to escape or execute their plan early. She couldn't let them do either. She saw movement ahead. The insect-like alien was running toward the plasma cannon, probably to see what had happened. Behind him, one of the other Krell was reaching for an alarm panel on the wall, the kind that would alert station security and lock down the entire section. If that alarm went off, everything would change. Station security would flood the area. The terrorists would either scatter and escape, or they would detonate their explosives early and kill everyone nearby, including Hana. The summit delegates would be evacuated and the attack would fail, but the terrorists would escape and try again later. Hana had maybe 2 seconds before the Krell's hand reached that alarm button. Time seemed to slow down. She could see everything with perfect clarity. The insect alien running toward her, the Krell reaching for the alarm. 2 more figures in the back, another Krell and the color-changing alien grabbing weapons. And somewhere in the shadows Vex, the leader, probably also moving. 4 visible targets. 2 seconds. 13 rounds. Hana's training took over. She stopped thinking and started acting. She fired at the Krell reaching for the alarm. The shot hit him in the throat. Not a kill shot, but enough to make him stumble and gurgle, his hand falling away from the alarm panel. He would die in seconds, but that wasn't her concern right now. The insect alien saw her and made a clicking sound of alarm. He was fast, his legs blurring as he changed direction and charged at her. Hana didn't have time to aim carefully. She fired twice at center mass. The insect had armor plating on his chest. The shots cracked the armor but didn't penetrate. He kept coming. Behind him, the third Krell was raising a weapon, something big and military grade. Hana threw herself sideways, rolling behind a supply crate. Energy bolts burned the air where she had been standing, leaving scorch marks on the metal wall. The insect alien jumped over her cover, his mandibles clicking. He was trying to pin her down while the Krell got a clean shot. Hana rolled again, came up on one knee and fired upward as the insect came down. This time she aimed for the head. The shot caught him under the jaw. He crashed down next to her, twitching. 10 rounds left. More energy bolts burned past her. The Krell with the rifle was advancing, firing carefully. Behind him, the color-changing alien was moving too, his skin shifting from gray to a camouflage pattern that made him hard to see. Hana stayed behind cover and tried to think. 2 enemies she could see, both armed. Vex somewhere in the shadows, location unknown, and the explosives still ticking down. The Krell was getting closer, his rifle trained on her position. He was being smart, not rushing in. He knew she was dangerous now. He was treating her like a real threat. Good, Hana thought. She looked around quickly. Above her, more maintenance pipes. To her left, an old power junction box hanging half off the wall. To her right, a stack of metal plates leaning against each other. She grabbed one of the metal plates and threw it hard to her right. It clattered against the floor, making noise. The Krell's rifle swung toward the sound. In that half-second, Hana moved left and fired 3 times. The first shot missed. The second shot hit the Krell's shoulder, making him stumble. The third shot hit his center mass. His armor stopped most of it, but the impact knocked him back. He tried to bring his rifle up again. Hana fired twice more into his face. He went down, 7 rounds left. She heard movement behind her and spun, pistol raised. The color-changing alien was right there, only 5 feet away, his skin making him almost invisible against the corridor wall. He had a blade in each hand, curved and sharp. He was faster than Hana. His arms moved in a blur. She barely got her pistol up in time. She fired twice at point-blank range. One shot missed. The other caught him in the chest, but he kept coming. The blade slashed at her. Hana stepped back, but not fast enough. One blade cut across her left arm, opening a line of fire along her bicep. The other blade scraped against her body armor. She fired again, this time aiming for his head. The shot went through his eye. He dropped 5 rounds left, 1 magazine in her pistol, 3 more in her pockets. Hana's left arm was bleeding, but not badly. She could still use it. She checked the corridor. 6 bodies. 1 terrorist left, Vex the leader. Impressive, a voice said from the shadows. Vex's voice rough and deep. They told me humans were slow. They told me you couldn't fight. I should have known better. Hana pointed her pistol toward the voice, but didn't fire. She couldn't see him. Give up, she said. Your team is dead. Your plan failed, did it? Vex stepped out of the shadows. He was huge, bigger than the other Krell, with scars covering his face and arms. He was holding a small device in his hand. This is the detonator for the explosives. If I press this button, everything in this section explodes, including you, including me, and including the summit hall below. I don't need to be alive for our plan to work. Hana kept her pistol trained on him. If you wanted to die, you would have pressed it already. Vex smiled, showing sharp teeth. Smart. Yes, I would prefer to live. So here is my offer. You let me leave and I don't blow us both up. You can have your little victory. You stopped the plasma cannon. You killed my team. Very heroic. But if you try to stop me from leaving, we both die and so does everyone below. You're lying, Hana said. You wouldn't build a bomb that kills you when you press it. You built it with a timer so you could escape. Vex's smile faded. Maybe. Are you willing to bet everyone's lives on that guess? They stared at each other across the corridor. Hana's mind was racing. If she shot him and he pressed the button, everyone died. If she let him go, he would escape and try again later. There had to be another option. Who hired you? She asked, buying time. Does it matter? There are species in the coalition who don't want humans here. They think you're dangerous. And you know what? They were right. Look at what you did here. 1 human killed 6 trained warriors in less than 10 minutes. Imagine what humanity could do to the galaxy if they really tried. We don't want to hurt anyone, Hana said. We just want to be part of the coalition. We want peace. Peace, Vex laughed. There is no peace in the galaxy. There is only power and those who are afraid of power. You humans don't understand that yet. But you will. He started backing toward the corridor exit, the detonator still in his hand. Hana made a decision. She couldn't let him escape. She couldn't let him press that button either. Which meant she had to be faster than his finger on the trigger. Faster than a Krell, who the coalition said had reflexes 3 times quicker than a human. They were wrong about humans being slow. They measured the wrong things. They looked at nerve speed and muscle fiber. Vex's body hit the floor with a heavy thud. Hana stood over him, breathing hard, her heart pounding in her chest. Her left arm was bleeding steadily now, the cut from the blade deeper than she had thought. Her hands were shaking. She looked at the detonator she had caught. It was a simple device, just a button and a timer display. The timer showed 18 minutes. Whatever Vex had set it for, it was still counting down. Hana turned it off with shaking fingers. The display went dark. For a moment, she just stood there among the bodies. 7 terrorists. All dead, she had done it. The summit was safe. Then she heard a noise behind her and spun, raising her pistol. But it was just Doyen, running down the corridor with his own weapon drawn. His eyes went wide when he saw the scene. Hana! I heard shooting. I thought... He stopped and looked at all the bodies. You killed them all? I didn't have a choice, Hana said. Her voice sounded strange in her own ears, flat and distant. They were going to attack the summit. They were going to blame humanity. Doyen lowered his weapon and came closer. He saw the blood on her arm. You're hurt. It's not bad. It's bad enough. Come on, we need to get you to medical. No, Hana said. We need to secure this area first. And we need to find their explosives and make sure they're really disarmed. She walked over to where the terrorists had been setting up their equipment. There were several packages of military-grade explosives, enough to blow a hole in the station hull and kill everyone in the summit hall below. They were connected to a timer that matched the one on the detonator. 18 minutes and counting down. Hana carefully disconnected the timer. The countdown stopped. She let out a breath she didn't know she had been holding. "Okay," she said. "Now we can call security." Doyen was already pulling out his communicator. But before he could make the call, they heard the sound of many footsteps in the corridor. Hana raised her pistol again, but Doyen put a hand on her arm. "It's okay," he said. "That's station security. I called them before I came here. I thought we weren't calling security. That was before I heard all the shooting. I thought you might need backup." A dozen security officers came around the corner, weapons ready. They were led by Commander Thex, the Vrexian who had dismissed Doyen's warnings. When Thex saw the scene, he stopped so suddenly that the officers behind him almost ran into him. "What happened here?" Thex demanded, his stone-like face showing confusion and anger. Hana lowered her pistol slowly. 7 terrorists were planning to attack the summit. They had weapons, explosives, and a plan to frame humanity for the attack. I stopped them. Thex looked at the bodies, at the plasma cannon, at the explosives. His forearms moved in what might have been disbelief. "You, 1 human, stopped 7 trained operatives?" "Yes, sir. This is impossible. Humans don't have the speed or strength for this kind of combat." Hana looked at him with tired eyes. "With respect, Commander, you were wrong about what humans can do." Over the next hour, more security arrived. Medical teams came for Hana's arm. Investigation teams started examining the bodies and the equipment. The explosives were carefully removed and taken to a secure facility. Hana sat on a supply crate while a medic bandaged her arm. The cut was deep but clean. It would heal. Commander Thex stood nearby, talking on his communicator to someone important. He kept looking at Hana like she was something he couldn't quite understand. When the medic finished, Thex came over. He looked uncomfortable, his stone-like features not good at showing emotions like shame or respect. "The station director wants to see you," he said, "and the Coalition Security Council. They need to understand what happened here." "Am I in trouble?" Hana asked. "No," Thex said quietly. "I am. I should have listened when your colleague brought evidence of suspicious activity. I dismissed it because," he paused, "because I didn't think a human could be right about a security threat. I was wrong. It was the closest thing to an apology Hana was likely to get from a Vrexian." She nodded. "The summit," she said. "Is it still happening?" "Yes. The delegates are being briefed on the situation now. Earth's representative has asked to meet you personally." That made Hana nervous. She had never met anyone important from Earth's government. She was just a security officer, trying to do her job. The meeting with the station director and the Security Council happened in a large conference room. Hana sat at a long table with humans on one side and aliens on the other. Doyen sat next to her. Across from them were the director, several high-ranking military officers from different species, and Ambassador Junho, Earth's representative to the Coalition. Ambassador Junho was a middle-aged man with gray hair and a calm expression. He looked at Hana with something like pride. The station director was an elder, one of the ancient species that had founded the Coalition thousands of years ago. She looked almost human, but her eyes were too large and her skin had a faint blue glow. When she spoke, her voice was gentle but carried authority. "Lieutenant Hana," the elder said, "we have reviewed the security recordings and examined the evidence you recovered. There is no doubt that you prevented a catastrophic attack that would have killed hundreds of delegates and destroyed years of diplomatic progress. I was just doing my job." "Ma'am," Hana said. "You did far more than your job," the elder continued. "You identified a threat that our security systems missed. You investigated when your superior officers dismissed your concerns, and you stopped 7 trained operatives single-handedly. This is unprecedented." One of the military officers, a Thros with silver scales, spoke up. "How did you move fast enough to kill them before they could react? Thros have some of the quickest reflexes in the Coalition. I have seen the recordings." "You were faster." "I wasn't faster," Hana said. "I was smarter. I didn't try to outspeed them. I positioned myself where they weren't looking. I used their expectations against them. They thought humans were slow, so they didn't expect an attack from above or behind. They thought humans were weak, so they didn't take me seriously until it was too late." The room was quiet. Then Ambassador Junho spoke. "What Lieutenant Hana is describing is standard human military doctrine. We teach our soldiers that you don't need to be the fastest or the strongest if you can be the most adaptable and the most prepared. We teach them to use intelligence, terrain, and psychology to overcome superior enemies. This is not how most Coalition species fight. the Thros officer said. No, Junho agreed. Most coalition species evolved with natural weapons or defenses. They fight with the tools they were born with. Humans evolved differently. We have no armor, no claws, no venom, so we learned to use our minds. We learned to make tools, to plan, to work together. That's how we survived on Earth. That's how we reached the stars. The elder nodded slowly. We have underestimated humanity. We looked at your physical abilities and saw limitations. We didn't see your true strength. With respect, another officer said, a Krell with a scarred face. One successful engagement does not prove that humans are capable warriors. Perhaps this was luck. Doyun spoke up for the first time. It wasn't luck. I've served with Hana for 2 years. I've seen her train. Human soldiers train differently than coalition forces. We train for situations where we're outmatched. We train to win when winning should be impossible. That's what makes us dangerous. The Krell officer looked skeptical, but he didn't argue. The elder looked at Hana again. What are your plans now, Lieutenant? After this incident, you could request reassignment to a more prestigious position. Many species would want you as an advisor or trainer. Hana thought about it. I'd like to stay on Nexus Prime, ma'am. There's still work to do here. The terrorists had inside help. They got weapons past security somehow. That means there might be other threats we haven't found yet. A wise observation, the elder said. She seemed pleased. But I have a different proposal for you. The Coalition Security Council wants to create a new division. A special operations unit that uses human tactical doctrines and is open to volunteers from all species. We want you to lead it. Hana was so surprised she almost couldn't speak. Me? Ma'am, I'm just a lieutenant. Surely there are more qualified. There is no one more qualified, the elder interrupted. You have proven that human methods work. You have shown results that no other species achieved. And more importantly, you have shown that different species can learn from each other. This is what the Coalition is supposed to be about. Not just tolerance, but growth through diversity. Hana looked at Doyun. He smiled and nodded. I accept, Hana said. The meeting ended shortly after. As people filed out of the conference room, Ambassador Junho stopped Hana. Walk with me, he said. They walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime together. The ambassador moved slowly, looking at the aliens passing by, at the different species working together. When humanity joined the Coalition, he said quietly, many people on Earth were worried. We were so new, so small compared to the other species. We wondered if we belonged here, if we had anything valuable to offer. And now? Hana asked. Now we know. We offer a different perspective, a different way of thinking about problems. Today you saved lives not because you were stronger or faster, but because you thought differently than everyone else expected. He paused and looked at her. You made humanity proud, Lieutenant. But more than that, you made us belong. 6 months later, Hana stood in front of a classroom that didn't look like any classroom in the Coalition. The walls were bare metal, no decorations or comfortable furniture. The floor was marked with tape showing different zones and distances. Weapons racks lined one wall, holding training equipment from a dozen different species. 30 recruits sat in rows watching her. They were all different species. 3 humans, including a young man named Quan who had transferred from Earth's Defense Force. 5 Rexians who wanted to learn why a human had been faster than their kind. 2 Thros. 4 Clith, a handful of species Hana was still learning about. All of them had volunteered for this new program. They called it the Adaptive Combat Division, or ACD. Hana just called it her unit. Good morning, she said. The translator devices everyone wore made sure all species understood her words. My name is Captain Hana. 6 months ago, I was a lieutenant doing patrol duty. Today, I'm teaching you how to fight like a human. Some of you are wondering why you should learn from a species that the Coalition considered weak and slow. She paused and looked at each recruit. Let me tell you something. I am weaker than most of you. I am slower than most of you. If we fought with pure strength or speed, most of you would win. But that's not how humans fight. We don't rely on what we were born with. We rely on what we can learn, what we can adapt, and how we can think. One of the Vrexian recruits raised a hand. His name was Tor, and he was young by Vrexian standards, his stone-like skin still smooth and unmarked. Captain, Tor said carefully, I mean no disrespect, but I have heard stories about what you did. 7 operatives killed in minutes. Surely that required speed and strength that normal humans don't have. Come up here, Hana said. Tor hesitated, then walked to the front of the class. He was nearly twice Hana's height and probably 4 times her weight. His forearms were thick with muscle. Hit me, Hana said. What? Try to hit me. You're faster than me, stronger than me. You should be able to land a punch easily. Tor looked uncomfortable. I don't want to hurt you, Captain. You won't, Hana said. Try, Tor moved. He was fast, his stone fist coming at Hana in a blur, but Hana wasn't where his fist was aimed. She had shifted her weight before he even started moving, reading his body language, seeing where he would strike. His punch hit empty air. She could have hit him back, but she just stepped away. Again, she said. Tor tried 3 more times. Each time Hana wasn't there. She didn't move fast. She moved smart, always 1 step ahead of him. Speed isn't just about how fast your muscles move, Hana explained to the class. It's about decision-making. Tor had to see me, decide to punch, send signals to his muscles, then move. I just had to watch his body language and know where he would punch before he did it. I moved less distance than he did, which means I didn't need to be as fast. The class was silent, watching with new attention. This is what you'll learn here, Hana continued. How to read opponents, how to position yourself, how to use psychology and tactics instead of just strength. By the time I'm done with you, you won't need to be the fastest or strongest. You'll be something better. You'll be effective. She had them run drills for the next 3 hours. Simple things at first, learning to watch for micro movements that showed when someone was about to attack. Learning to control their breathing and heartbeat so they could think clearly under stress. Learning to use cover and angles instead of just charging straight ahead. The humans picked it up quickly because they had trained this way before, but surprisingly, some of the aliens were even better. A Clith named Sari had compound eyes that could track 20 different things at once. A Thros named Dax could move his forearms independently, making his attacks unpredictable. They were learning to combine their natural abilities with human tactics, becoming more dangerous than either species alone. At the end of the day, Doyun came to visit. He had been promoted too, now working as a senior intelligence officer. He watched the last hour of training from the observation window. They're getting good, he said when Hana joined him after dismissing the class. They're learning, Hana corrected. But yes, they're better than I expected. It turns out humans aren't the only species that can adapt. We just had to show everyone else that adaptation was valuable. Have you heard the news from the outer fringe? Doyen asked. No, what happened? 2 more terrorist cells were broken up. 1 on Station Gamma, 1 on a transport hub near the border. Coalition security used tactics from your training manual. They positioned forces where the terrorists weren't expecting. They used psychology to force mistakes. 0 casualties among the security teams and all terrorists captured alive. Hana felt pride warm her chest. That's good. It's more than good. The Coalition Council is calling it a revolution in security thinking. Species that have fought the same way for thousands of years are suddenly trying new approaches, and it's working. They walked together to the mess hall. The room was crowded with off-duty soldiers and staff from dozens of species. 6 months ago, Hana would have eaten alone or with only Doyen. Now several aliens waved at her as she entered. A group of Rexian guards invited her to join them at their table. Things had changed. Later that evening, Hana went to the observation deck where she had fought Vex 6 months ago. The maintenance corridor had been cleaned and repaired. No signs remained of the battle that had happened there. But Hana remembered every detail, every shot, every decision, every moment of fear and determination. You come here often, a voice said behind her. Hana turned to see the elder who served as station director. The blue-skinned woman moved silently, her large eyes reflecting the starlight from the windows. I like to remember, Hana said. It keeps me focused. May I join you? Of course, ma'am. They stood together, looking out at the stars. The elder was old, thousands of years old, Hana had learned. She had seen civilizations rise and fall, had watched the coalition grow from a handful of species to hundreds. I have lived a long time, the elder said quietly. I have seen many species join the coalition. Each one brings something new. The Rexians brought strength and honor. The Thros brought speed and precision. The Clith brought adaptability and resilience. But you humans, you brought something we had forgotten. What's that? The understanding that weakness can become strength. That limitations can drive innovation. Most species in the coalition evolved to be good at something specific. They became specialists, But Earth was harsh to your ancestors. It didn't let them specialize. It forced them to be generalists, to adapt to any situation. That made you vulnerable in some ways, but incredibly strong in others. The elder turned to look at Hana. Do you know what the other species call your unit now? No, ma'am. They call you the hunters, not because you hunt enemies, but because you teach others to hunt. You teach them to think like predators who survive not through strength, but through intelligence. I'm just teaching what I was taught, Hana said. That's what makes it valuable. You're not inventing new techniques. You're sharing old wisdom that humans developed over millions of years of evolution. You're showing the galaxy that there are many ways to be strong. They were quiet for a moment. Then the elder spoke again. The terrorist attack 6 months ago was not an isolated incident. We have learned that several species within the coalition were working together to remove humanity from the alliance. They saw you as weak and feared that accepting weak members would make the coalition vulnerable. What happened to them? They have been exposed and expelled. But more importantly, they have been proven wrong. Humanity is not weak. You are different, and that difference makes the coalition stronger. The elder started to leave, then paused. I have one question, Captain. When you were in that corridor, facing 7 enemies alone, were you afraid? Hana thought about lying, about saying she had been confident and fearless. But the elder deserved honesty. I was terrified, she admitted. Every second I thought I was going to die. But I did it anyway because it needed to be done. The elder smiled, an expression that looked strange on her alien features. That is another thing humans brought to the coalition. The understanding that courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. After the elder left, Hana stayed on the observation deck for another hour. She thought about Earth, about the long journey humanity had taken to reach the stars, about all the people who had worked and sacrificed to make first contact with alien species, about the prejudice and doubt humanity had faced when joining the coalition. 6 months ago, aliens had looked at humans and seen weakness. Now they saw possibility. They saw teachers and allies. They saw a species that could show them new ways to think about old problems. It wasn't perfect. There were still aliens who didn't trust humans, who thought the whole species was dangerous because Hana had proven one human could be deadly. There were still questions about humanity's place in the galaxy, still debates about whether humans should be given more responsibility or kept at arm's length. But things were better. And they would continue to get better as long as humans kept proving their value through action rather than words. Hana's communicator chimed. It was a message from Quan, one of her human recruits. Captain, we have a situation. 3 cadets got into a fight in the rec room.